everyone, welcome to League of Vloggers. This is Season 4, Episode 3. We are here to discuss Week 2 of the LCS. Thank you for bearing with me with my terrible intro, but we are here. We've all watched a boatload of matches. Not even a boatload, but we've watched all of the matches, and
yeah,
there was good, there was bad, there was a little bit of crying by me, mostly.
And who are you?
Oh, sorry, I forgot who we are. I know who we are. You don't know who we are. Over here, we got Kurtis James.
Hey.
Myself, I am Viking Redbeard, a.k.a. Chase. We are missing Heather, a.k.a. Stormy, this evening. She was under the weather, so...
Yeah, we missed an opportunity to drink Coronas, because, I mean, she said she was in Florida around people who had just traveled from Seattle, so they definitely had the coronavirus.
Makes sense.
So it means she's going to be dead soon.
Yep, and which means we're probably all going to follow, so that's cool.
Although, like... You know for a fact she doesn't have coronavirus because she got sick immediately and it's got like that 14-day incubation. So it's only if you're like, oh, I was around sick people, and then like 2 weeks later you're like, oh shit, then you're fucked.
Yep, so everyone send her well wishes and Mucinex, I guess, because that's what makes you feel like a real person. That being said, we can get right into the matches this week. So we want to start right on day one. How did day one go?
Day one, I mean, let's not even do that just because it's 4 matches a day. Let's go ahead and we're going to talk about the hottest hand in the league right now. Cloud9.
Cloud9.
We have one undefeated team left. It is Cloud9. They picked up wins against Immortals and 100 Thieves. Not their stiffest competition thus far. I mean, honestly, overall, they had Team Liquid on their first game without their jungler. They had Surenfire for 4 days at that point. And then Golden Guardians, followed up this week by Immortals and 100 Thieves. They are the only undefeated team left in the league. Also, Zven, the new bot laner acquired from TSM, is the only deathless player left in the league.
Which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, over 4 games, like, I mean, it wasn't that he wasn't even getting stuff done. Like, his KDA is infinity right now. It is beautiful.
Yes. I think between kills and assists, he has like 51, 53, something like that. It's high.
Yeah, like, that's not a small number to be deathless in the league right now, especially spread over 4 games, which he played. Yeah, that was a pretty cool stat. Let's see, where are we? We are here.
We are here. I mean, I think they've looked very good thus far. Obviously, a bit of a understatement. But the thing is, like, even though their competition hasn't necessarily been the hardest, I've been impressed by them mostly because just the way they're playing in-game, it seems to me that their macro has been impeccable. They're one of the few teams in the league who seem to be moving around the map with purpose at all times. Their team fights in Week 1 were really based around a lot of zone control. In Week 2, it was just really well-played fights with Senna in both games for Zven. His Qs, his ults, everything was keeping everyone alive for so much longer than they reasonably should have been, and it seemed like they were doing a great job with that. So, I mean, Cloud9 for me, they seem like the only team right now who understand how to play the game as a team and do it on the level that they are doing it.
Yeah, no, they look really good. I know that going back to Week 1 here, just for 1 second, they did beat Team Liquid, which is going to be immensely helpful for them when they meet them in the latter half of this season. Having that head-to-head over them early, even if they were down a jungler, they're just sitting so pretty right now. I don't imagine them falling out of that second place range for the foreseeable future. Their team is looking very coherent. They're working together as a team, as you said. Like, they're just... everything about them right now just looks great.
Yeah, I mean, we saw, especially, I think Licorice has been being heavily pressured up top, and yet he always ends up in a side lane at some point, getting a kill against his opponent. We saw, actually, late in their game against 100 Thieves, late in their game against 100 Thieves, where 100 Thieves, like, went desperation on his Camille. They blew, like, everyone's ultimates piled in on him. You see Zven's ultimate come through, keep him alive for a bit longer, and then his GA pops. And by the time his GA comes up, like, he revives, the rest of Cloud9's there and kills everyone on 100 Thieves. Like, Licorice played out of his mind this week. Zven, like I said, still unkilled. And I give so much of the credit, though, to this team right now to Vulcan. I think Vulcan has been the linchpin of making that bot lane successful in lane. And I think his play in the team fights has always been on point. He finds the right initiation. He finds the peel. He's not getting caught out. Ever. I can't think of a time where I'm like, oh man, Vulcan, what were you doing there? Like, if I say, what were you doing there? It's like, holy shit, what were you doing there? Like, how did you happen to be there at the right time? The guy has been fantastic, and Cloud9 benefiting from it. I mean, they are the team to beat, and I don't know what to think, or if I can think of what will stop them, because they do have Dignitas coming up this next week, and so there will be a challenge there. But at the same time, I mean, I don't see them getting hammered by Dig by enemy. I think that they're still just a better team. I don't think until we see Team Liquid at full strength with like Broxah or maybe a meta that suits them better to carry from bot lane or something, I don't think Cloud9's going to be challenged right now in this league. They look ridiculous.
Yeah, and with Zven coming in from TSM, like he didn't look bad on TSM, but I think he looks way better on Cloud9 so far this split than he ended last year. And Vulcan coming from Dignitas and then prior to that Clutch, like I was really concerned about the Vulcan pickup. He was never really like the weak point on the teams that he was on, but he was never on teams that were performing super well.
Well, I mean, he was on Clutch Dig making that run, through playoffs / the gauntlet into Worlds. I mean, like, overall, obviously, they didn't perform well to end up in that spot where they had to make this insane run to get there.
Yeah.
But, I mean, during that run, obviously all of them looked good. Cody Sun himself, Huni, and Demonte.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't the weakest link on the team, give or take. But I think
No, that was Lyra. He definitely wasn't the weakest.
You are correct. But to see him come from, like, a team like Dignitas and prior to that Clutch, and then performing as well as he has on Cloud9, like, I think that having, like, good players around him has really benefited him. Like, he's been given, like, the chance to shine. So,
I fully agree.
This team is looking so good right now. I can't say anything bad about them.
Well, and to the same thing you were saying about Vulcan, like, coming in and looking so good, it's hard not to talk about Zven. I mean, not only is he deathless right now, but he has been so clean play-wise. Not, I'm clean, I just didn't die. He's not like playing like a KDA player where he just stays the hell out of it. He's narrowly escaping a bunch of the time. Now, a lot of those are, Vulcan helping him get out. But, like I said, on his Senna, he was helping the whole team get away constantly. He's just been so good. Like, the running joke over the last week or so has been TSM stands for Talent Suppression Machine. Because of Sven Skaren and Zven now. Like, and we saw... you're still seeing, like, players who left TSM, like, doing well, especially on Cloud9. Like, if Smoothie was rocking it at CLG, which, spoiler alert, we'll be talking about that shortly, definitely not rocking it. Like, I think you would just be, like, losing your mind about, well, how does TSM just... And Grig's even he's on Dignitas now, and he's looking good there. Now, is he the stand-up player on Dig? No. But... is anybody blaming him for why they lost, their game to FlyQuest? No. Grig wasn't the problem there. Like,
well, I've got other issues with that match that I'll touch on later. But
yeah, Cloud9 looking great. Every single player on that team looking very good, and especially that bot lane, Vulcan and Zven. It's weird to say, and I know it's a lot because of where the meta is right now. You can't as easily hard carry out of bot lane. I think if you could, Doublelift and Core JJ would still be the best bot lane. But with the meta in its current state, it feels like the bot lane to beat is Zven and Vulcan.
I can see that, yep.
Yeah. Well, let's head from the top of the table to the bottom.
Talking about CLG?
We're talking about CLG, the only team without a win so far. They are 0-4, having dropped to Dignitas and FlyQuest in Week 1, and then 100 Thieves and TSM in Week 2. You couldn't Dig and Fly, higher up than you would have expected them to begin with. TSM recovered a bit in this Week 2, partly because they got to play CLG and Evil Geniuses. And then 100 Thieves, who's, another 2-2 team. Like, The only teams that are lower than the 4 they faced are Golden Guardians and Evil Geniuses, who they do get one of those next week, Evil Geniuses. Mm-hmm. But like they haven't faced TL, they haven't faced Cloud9. Like by the time they face those teams, I mean,
they didn't lose against teams that they were guaranteed losses.
Exactly, yeah. And heading into this year, we as a group, I think our average rank for them was 4 or 5. I think it was 4 between the three of us.
Ended last split so strong.
3rd.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling to see this team come out and perform this poorly. And what's weird is that none of the players necessarily look like they're playing super poorly, but they just can't catch a break.
They seem to have an incredible way of getting everything wrong all the time. It's just... I don't even know what to make of it. Like, they definitely do seem disjointed with Smoothie in the bot lane with Stixay. I don't think that's working great right now. Wiggly in the jungle, he's made a couple bonehead plays. Oh man, Power of Evil. I think Power of Evil's the one spot on this team, or I'm sorry, not Power of Evil, Crown. Crown replacing them, where I don't feel like Crown's throwing the game for them, but he's also not making anything good happen. And then Ruin was a kind of a coin toss player in some ways last season, and I think actually I think Stormy said it when we were just watching opening day matches here. I don't know if we said it on last week's episode, but it feels like the whole of talent in NA has gone up between last season and this season. And Ruin seems to be somebody who is suffering more than most due to that. Because, I mean, he's been getting pounded. If you look at their schedule, he played against Huni, got rocked. Played against Viper, got rocked. Played against Someday, got rocked. And finally played against Broken Blade, got really rocked. Like, the dude hasn't won his lane all year. At least not that I recall. Maybe I'm misremembering this. But,
I mean, we're only 4 games in, and you just named 3 of them, so...
Well, I named all 4.
Oh,
I listed all 4 of his opponents, and I don't think he hasn't won the lane. And so if you're not going to win the lane as a coin toss player out of 4 games, well, guess what? You're just hurting your team. It's like Huni was doing at one point, back on Spring Split's clutch last year. It was like, well, if you're going to lose every time, stop being aggressive and losing us the game. And it feels like Ruin's doing that, but guess what? So is everyone else on this squad.
Yeah. Yeah, Wiggly... I don't think Wiggly is able to maneuver the map and give people support when they need it. He just kind of shows up, and nothing really comes of it. And so... Yeah, he's not really much benefit there. And Crown, former Samsung Galaxy Worlds winner...
Yeah, Worlds champion,
just
then.
2 years ago. 2.5 at this point, but whatever. Like, he is just floundering in NA. Like, I just don't understand. Like, how do you go from winning Worlds to a pretty mediocre season last year to number 10 this year? Like, it is just... I don't understand. Looking at the people in this team, none of them look like they should be a number 10 team.
Yeah, if you look at the roster, you're like, well, they're all pretty good players. I mean... I would hold exception. I don't think Wiggly's been around long enough to prove himself. Also, talent pool going up is a problem. And I didn't fully buy on Ruin last year even.
Sure.
I think he's what that team needed at the time. But I don't know that he's a good fit right now. Like, I mean, who are they facing this next week? Evil Geniuses and Immortals. So he gets to play against Kumo and Soaz, which are probably the 2 weakest top laners in the league currently. So maybe he'll have a good showing. Like, they have to be thankful they're facing EG and Immortals right now. Because even though Golden Guardians is, next lowest along with EG, like, I think that Immortals head-to-head matchup works a little better in their favor. But, I mean, we'll see. Smoothie and Stixay need to get shit together.
Yeah, Smoothie...
Like, if this team's going to succeed, that bot lane has to start doing something.
Cloud9 did the right thing to eject Smoothie 2 years ago. Like,
Trade him off to Echo Fox, and then trade him to TSM, and now he's on CLG.
Like, he is... he has done nothing but go down in terms of skill relative to everyone else around him, which is really unfortunate because when he was on Cloud9, he was a really good player.
Right?
And he played, in my opinion, he still played really well on Echo Fox.
Yeah.
And then when Echo Fox got their entire roster gutted, and then he ended up on TSM, I was like, okay, that's a good place for him to land. Mm-hmm. And then he squandered that too last year.
Yeah.
So I just don't understand.
Talent suppression machine, man.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Unfortunately, CLG stands for continually losing games this season. God. What does this team, in my opinion, what this team needs to do to get on the right track is that bot lane coming together, because Smoothie and Stixay are both better players than what they've been showing so far. But do you have another take on it? I'm not sure even about what I just said.
Well, the thing that sucks with League, and the thing that's like also cool about it, is that it's ever changing. This game today is not the same game as last year, and it's a hell of a lot different from the game 2 years ago. Yeah. And so, like, with all of the jungle changes, like all of the catch-up XP in the jungle, and just, like, the alcoves, and just Dragon Souls, and the map changing now, it's just, like, it is a whole new game. Like,
so do you think they're waiting on a meta change, then, to help them out?
I just think that they haven't adapted to the new game.
Okay.
I think that they are still trying to play the game as if none of those changes has taken place, and they're not respecting the new game, basically.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense, because they have struggled to own objectives in basically any way. And actually, that's a good segue. Let's move on to TSM, who started 0-2, and then went 2-0 this week, with one of those wins being over CLG, the other one being over Evil Geniuses. I feel like that was a team in week 1 where they struggled with the game, because they actually had by far the highest goal differential at 15 of any team, and they went 0-2. Now week 2, granted, much weaker competition. They face the teams that are last and second last in the league currently, but they looked better. They looked like they had some understanding of what to do with the game and its current model, whether that be Dragon Souls, the double Rift Heralds, stuff like that. They seem to have a bit of a better grasp. Do you think this is something that's actually going to continue on for them, or was it just like, hey, you got some weak teams this week, good job? Because they have Dignitas and Golden Guardians next week.
TSM is looking mediocre right now, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's not wrong. They're 2-2 overall.
They've got my boy Dardoch on there, and he pops off every once in a while, but he also seems to almost be a hindrance in some of these games, which I don't want to say because I think he is a good player. Kabe has come in and looked surprisingly decent. Bjergsen continues to do Bjergsen things, but not as well as last year or the year before that.
Right.
I don't know. You are right. Broken Blade did come in and he just kind of stomped all over CLG and made them
Ruin. But
yeah.
I mean, it's Ruin. Like,
I don't know. This team,
he beat up on Ruin and Soaz this week. Not the roughest task. Ruin and Kumo. Not the roughest task he could have been offered.
Yeah, I feel like they lost games that maybe they shouldn't have. Losing to... Who did they lose to? They lost to Immortals, and then they lost to... Who else?
They lost to Immortals and TL in week 1.
Okay. Well, okay, so rough week 1. They did win both of their games this weekend. Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's been a few days since some of those matches.
Yeah.
But...
I mean, do you think they won the 2 this week, obviously against weaker competition than their... generally weaker competition than their first week. But they have Dignitas and Golden Guardians coming up next. One who's a pretty good team, Dignitas, and one who's a team that's not doing so well so far, Golden Guardians. I mean, do you just expect the split? Where is this team right now in the grand hierarchy of things? They're tied for 4th, but that's with 3 other teams. They're just tied for the middle, is what they are.
I'm seeing like a painfully middle of the pack team from TSM right now. Maybe with their games coming up next week, that might change. No, I still think that they're painfully middle of the pack. Like, they'll play Dig.
Are they like a playoff team? Or, like, do you think they're going to get better with time over the next few weeks?
Maybe. I have no idea. I mean, Dardoch basically had a whole year off. He had a whole year off last year. So the fact that he's on a starting team right now, it baffles me.
Yeah.
For as much as I like Dardoch, having a whole year off in your career is not great. Like, playing Academy...
Alltech did the same, and he's playing this year, too.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's a couple of them.
So I think that, like, coming from Academy for a year... Academy is a lot different than what's on the stage.
Yeah.
And so it's probably going to take him, hopefully, these 2 weeks to readjust and come back. Mm-hmm. And I think Dardoch's probably the biggest point of, like, he could be the person that, like, helps them do well. He could also be their biggest point of failure.
Yeah, no, I fully agree, and I think these next 2 weeks are actually going to be quite the test for them. Obviously, Dignitas to start off next week for them. And Golden Guardians, they should be able to pick that up. That shouldn't be a problem. But then Cloud9 and FlyQuest following that, I mean, that's three of the top teams in the league. They're tied with FlyQuest currently. Or no, they're not. FlyQuest is tied for second? Yes, they're tied for second. Cloud9 won. TL, who they already faced. They're tied for fourth with TL. But I think TL's considered to be better than, the current tie in the fourth place. They'll get past that here this next week, I think, facing 100 and GG.
Do we know when Brox is actually going to be here?
Whenever his visa issues are figured out.
That sucks so much for Team Liquid.
It does. That is also part of the reason that having domestic players is a good thing. Like, not to be like, having a European's bet. Like, I'm a fan of Cloud9. Well, guess what? Zven, not domestic. And Niski, not domestic. Like, both of those guys have visas, could have visa issues, but they got through. It's unfortunately not working well for TL. I have a feeling the Brox deal was made a bit later. Not like right at the end, but, the later it happens, the longer it takes to get your paperwork through,
Yeah, I mean, with the current administration that we have, it has been increasingly difficult for foreigners to get their visas approved.
Yeah.
It's very apparent that even, like, companies like Riot are having issues, like, trying to get those expedited.
Yep.
So.
Oh, yeah. Well, and, I mean, it wouldn't even be Riot. All these teams are their own corporate entities, so they're the ones getting it done.
Well, then these companies are...
TL has Disney money. Like, Disney's the primary owner of Team Liquid at this point. So, yeah. Like, you would think somebody would be able to get it done, but a lot of these government entities are terribly understaffed right now. And, yeah, it's causing issues. So, maybe next season with a different administration. Well, it wouldn't be until, like, summer split, but maybe we'll see no visa issues.
Hopefully.
If 2021 summer there's no visa issues, you'll have known that's what it was. Well, yeah, hopefully, like you said. Possibly. Let's go ahead and move on from TSM, though. I actually do want to chat real quick about Golden Guardians. Week 1, they went 0-2. They looked decent in those games, and then they went 1-1 this week, and I feel like this team has the players they should... That, they didn't impress me right out of the bat, but then, like, when they played well together as a group... I kind of questioned I initially ranked them last in the league, but after week 1, I was like, oh shit, they might be playoff. And they don't seem to be, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what to think of them. They're not pulling it together. Like, that's my team I'm questioning. I don't know if there's a team you're questioning or that's the same team. Like, because they seem like they could do it if they get, like, one thing in place. I don't feel that way about, like, EG and Immortals right now, or CLG. I feel like there's lots of problems with those three teams, and yet, Golden Guardians is down in 8th. I feel like there's, like, one thing they have to do, and, like, oh, yeah, you're, like, the number 5 team. But I'm not sure what that thing is. Is there a team you feel the same way about? I mean, we're only 2 weeks in, so there's a lot of in the pile in the middle right now.
There's a lot of players that should be playing better that have continuously disappointed me this split so far. Like Haunter being one of them. Talking about Golden Guardians here for a second. I really like Golden Guardians. I wish that they could be a better team. Like, I know I kind of memed on them a little bit. Like, that's why I started following them, because they were just the worst team in the league, and I was going for the underdogs.
I mean, their first 3 splits, they won 1 game, then 2 games, then 3 games.
I mean, they've already won 1 game so far this split.
Yeah, they're not going to go without a win.
But I don't know.
What are your feelings on Keith? Because week 1, when I watched them play, a bunch of people were flaming Keith in Reddit and on Twitch and everywhere. Keith was getting flamed for being out of position constantly and dying so much. But when I was watching those games and when I rewatched some of that, I saw Keith as being there to help his teammates who were out of position and then dying, because he would sacrifice himself. In week 2, I felt like I saw the opposite. I saw the team retreating and Keith picking the wrong route out, or Keith just being somewhere for no good reason. I saw him getting caught a lot solo. And so I felt like he regressed this week. I don't know, maybe the rest of the team was playing better and he was just like at that same level or something. So he's like, hey, aren't you going to be stupid and out here where we shouldn't be too? No, just me? All right. I don't know, but Keith felt really, really bad to watch this week. There was specifically a time, I believe it was in their match against Immortals, where a bunch of them were in the river, and the jungler came through, their jungler, their Lee Sin, he came through their south side of river, he came through and he headed towards Crescent Brush, up towards blue. And he was kind of following the AD carry, and the AD carry had head through, but he was sooner. And he hesitated and followed the jungler for a moment and then went, no, I don't want to walk towards mid. Well, at this point there was separation. And Immortals had pushed up, and so he's out there completely fucking caught. He had if he would have just followed the Lee Sin, he would have been fine. But instead he's like, you know what? I want to go this direction, and got wrecked. And I saw too many times that seemed like that sort of thing. I don't know. I don't know if I can make an excuse for Keith at this point, because it just seems like transferring this AD carry into a support was a terrible decision.
Yeah, I mean, he came from Cloud9's bench, which is weird.
Oh, never mind.
And he traditionally, coming from Cloud9's bench means that you should have superpowers.
Yeah.
And he has been quite the disappointment.
I mean, Golden Glue also came from their bench, and he's looking good right now. I mean, overall. Is he one of the best mid laners in the league? No. But is he doing fine despite what the rest of the team is doing? I would say so. I mean, I'm not disappointed with how Golden Glue's done so far, personally. How do you feel about Golden Glue?
I don't have anything bad to say about Golden Glue.
Is it because he's pretty and you love him?
No.
Okay.
I don't love people based on looks. I don't even love myself, so...
Well, yeah, but that is based on looks.
Oh, shit. But, yeah, I don't know. Golden Glue's... He's okay. I don't think that he's necessarily the problem on Golden Guardians right now. I think it's probably Darshan changing his name to Zion Spartan.
On their academy team?
Changing it back.
So their academy top laner reverting his name is why they're losing?
That's the only thing that makes sense to me right now. No, I don't know. They're just not playing cohesively together. It just seems like they're playing every man for themselves.
Agreed.
And that's not how a team game like this works, so...
Wait, a team game can't play all on their own? What?
Well, I mean, to some degree they can.
Yeah.
But you need a better set of players that can do that more successfully. Golden Guardians doesn't have that skill cap there.
Yeah.
So
are there any particular teams we haven't discussed at length? I mean, CLG, Cloud9, TSM, and Golden Guardians being the only ones so far we've discussed at length. Are there ones that stand out to you that you have a strong feeling on, or a take that you really want to get in on?
So, not necessarily at length, but I would like to bring up Evil Geniuses for a second.
Absolutely.
Having Sven Skaren MVP of last split.
Yeah, they picked up not just Sven Skaren, but Zazel from Cloud9, as well as Kumo off of Cloud9's bench, and then they filling in that roster with a... who's their mid laner? Braveheart.
Jizuke?
Yeah, Jizuke, a great EU talent mid laner. And then AD carry being
Bang.
Yeah, like, who's a former world champion.
They've got talent. They are squandering it. Jizuke has looked so good in some of these matches, and then there are some matches where he looks mediocre. Like, Bang doesn't seem like he is putting up the same like level of work that he has in the past. It almost seems like he's kind of floating a little bit based on his name and prior accomplishments. Sven Skaren has disappointed me this split so far. Like, it's not necessarily any one thing that he has done bad, but it's just kind of a culmination of like everything that this team has done together saddens me.
Yeah.
I really, really thought the Evil Geniuses might be playoff contention. They might be like top 4 maybe, like with some of the talent that they've got.
They were one of those that I said at the beginning of the season, their ceiling is really high if they can reach it. And they seem to be falling way short of that ceiling right now.
I mean, it is possible that they do turn things around. Again, it is week 2. So, I mean, some of these teams have nowhere to go but up. So, Evil Geniuses being one of them. Like, I wonder if they just, like, instead of, like, trying to find a team that works well together, like, you're a big name, you're a big name, you're a big name, you're a big name, and you're a big name. We're going to throw you all together and hope things happen. And unfortunately, that's not what has happened.
Yeah. I mean, so there. Actually, I posted it in the Discord. There was a great article from ESPN that was discussing. It was mostly from the Cloud9 point of view because it seems like they were the linchpin of the offseason. But the offseason, like, trading. And basically, so Cloud9 early on, after Worlds, they were disappointed with going on group stage, and even prior to that, from some other stuff I've watched, that they were disappointed with losing the finals, the summer finals. They felt they should have won that they, going into it, they're like, oh, we should win this, we've got this. And then they went up, 2-1, and they ended up losing it to Team Liquid, giving up the 4-time title. And it seems like that kind of snowballed into whatever dysfunction happened at Worlds, which then snowballed back home. And, like, basically, upon returning, Jack Etienne, the owner of Cloud9, messaged, I'm forgetting her name, and I'll remember it, I'll learn it. I think it's Michelle something, the CEO of Evil Geniuses, and just basically was like, hey, I've got some players. You interested? And they were, like, shocked immediately, because he was like, I've got Sven Skaren, I've got Zazel, I've got, I think he named 1 or 2 other, like, Kumo and stuff. But he's like, I got players, like, you went, and they're like, wait, hold on, did he just offer us the fucking MVP? The reigning MVP? And then, deal discussion started. The long story short, this article, really go read it, it's fantastic, is that EG and Cloud9 came to, okay, we're going to do Kumo, Sven Skaren, and Zazel for $2 million.
Wow.
Reportedly $2 million. I mean, we don't know that number for sure, but
I'm assuming that's the money that went to Cloud9 and not the players.
Cloud9 gets $2 million, you get those 3 players. Then Cloud9 and so Zazel wasn't one of the ones originally, but, like, EG wanted him, and they're like, okay, well, we need to find a support if we're going to do that. And actually, Jack's apparently, his first reaction was to go back and get Smoothie, because history with the team, he had done well before. Smoothie was not on the table. Neither was Biofrost. We know now it's because CLG and TSM were trading them to each other, so that wasn't on the table. This is all before the trading, like, opens, because obviously discussions are happening before that.
Sure.
And then he went and said, okay, he went after Vulcan. And Dignitas was like, yeah, no, he's not available. And Jack, who has been the best, company owner in the league for a while now, was like, money. He's like, no, I'll make this happen. And then while Dignitas was negotiating Huni's contract, which is like 2.2 over 2 years, they're like, shit, we kind of need money so we can build a team around this guy. So they negotiated a 1.5 million, so $1.5 million for just Vulcan, which is ridiculous if you're thinking that.
That seems a little bit
But
crazy.
so far for Cloud9, it's working.
Oh, yeah.
And on top of that, they're like, well, we need an AD carry as well. Johnson, who they have now, and is playing fantastically. We should probably touch on that again. He's still playing so well for Dignitas. He was actually a TSM property. So it was also, hey, we want Johnson as well. So Cloud9 shelled out the 1.5 for Vulcan, and then paid TSM a $250,000 for Johnson. So 1.75 for Vulcan and Johnson, who they kept Vulcan, got rid of Johnson, and then got rid of 3 players, and overall cash-wise came out ahead $250,000 because they got $2 million. But then also, signing Zven from TSM, who TSM didn't want him back. Like, they just weren't going to extend his contract. So he was just a free agent. So
means they got a hell of a deal with him.
Yeah, so I'm sure they still paid him a bunch. And I heard Zven, he wanted to go back to Europe. He was still looking at going back to Europe, but G2 doesn't have a spot open where they would want him. Fnatic still rocking Reckless, and he's like, well, I didn't want to go to a team that couldn't beat those two, and probably most of the teams can't even beat Origin either. So he's like, well, I'm going to stay in NA and I'm going to win here. So he went to Cloud9. And, I mean, obviously, so far, looking great. But, so, the whole point of that story, though, is talking about the trade going on, the way all of that trading works. Because you were talking about Dignitas. Was it Dignitas?
I was talking about Evil Geniuses.
I'm sorry, Evil Geniuses. There we go. And so, like, their whole roster was built on getting those 3 players. They got those 3 from Cloud9, and then filling in the gaps after that. So, yeah, I think you're right that they... I mean, I went off on like a 5-minute tangent, apologies. But they got those 3 players, one of them being a massive name, Svenskeren, one of them being a pretty good name in Zazel, because he had been so successful on Cloud9 recently. Kumo, pretty much unheard of. And then they managed to pick up 2 other names that people know, Jizuke and Bang. Yeah. But it doesn't seem to be coming together, which is weird. You would think those players from those places could come together and do something.
I think that they are just having some kind of like growing pains. I fully expect them to at least be a playoff team. Otherwise, if they can't make playoffs this split, I'm going to call everyone on that team washed up.
Everyone? It's hard to be washed up for Kumo when he's only just made it into the... This is his first like full-time starting thing. I think he started enough games that he can't be considered for Rookie of the Split, though. I'm almost certain of that.
I don't know. Just Bang, Jizuke, Svenskeren. Like, if those 3 people you can't build a team around, like, what are you doing as an org?
Where do you think, if you had to pick one weak spot in this team, where, like, if there's... Make this one change and hope it'll fix the team. Who do you fix?
I don't think it's a person. I think it's a communication. It's something off the rift.
So maybe coaching?
Yes. We will... They need a better coach. I don't know who their coach is. Let me look it up real quick.
But, I mean, I could skip behind that. Like, that's the thing, because they don't seem to be cohesive. And their coach is Irene. Like, I could see that, though. That it's a coaching issue, because you obviously have talent on this team. Like, you will have to lie to me for hours to convince me that Svenskeren, Bang, and Jizuke are not talented. I think Zazel's talented, too. I think he needs to learn how to pressure the early game. His late game's fantastic, shot calling and such. And then Kumo he's been very weird so far over 2 weeks. He's not lost the game, but he's felt almost as if he wasn't present in the game. He doesn't seem to be making neither a positive nor a negative impact. He's the least impactful player, possibly, in the entirety of the LCS.
Alright, so Irene came from where?
You went too far. Go up. There we go. CLG just last year. And then, so it was just CLG then. So he was just
Okay, he fucking got a swanky-ass deal. He got carried by his team that played so well last split to get hired on.
Hold on. You're saying carried by his team, but that team, which is almost the same, is dead last now. So Here's a hard question. The only change CLG made was support, right? Support and mid. They went from Power of Evil to Crown, and they went from Biofrost to Smoothie. And
My
they changed.
statement has no merit.
Well, no, I mean, I'm just where do you put it? Because you can say, no, it's those players swapping out that makes the team bad now, or you can say it's the coaching, or it can be a combination of both. Where do you think it is? Is CLG worse now because of the 2 player swaps, the 1 coach swap, or all 3 of those together? And depending on what that answer is, then how does that play into what EG is now? Or is it just that EG is a totally different group of players and this coach doesn't know how to coach those players?
We're going to say maybe a little bit of all of the above. The only other thing that I could think of is that CLG gave Irene a little bit more freedom, and Evil Geniuses is maybe kind of reining him in a little bit. Speculation. So I have no idea if any of this is accurate.
That's possible.
I have no idea. It's very weird. You're okay. But... No buts.
So, hold on. I've got actually a extension of what you just said. I think EG reining him in, maybe not in the organization, but if you look at that team of players on CLG, Stixay has obviously seen success. Smoothie had seen tempered success, we'll say. Because, obviously did well on Cloud9, was almost an MVP one split, but never won anything, right?
Sure.
Power Evil had success in Europe, but not in North America. And Lyra had been down for a while. Ruin was a nothing. So, that group of players, as compared to last split's MVP, Zazel, who went to World Semifinals, Bang, who is a world champion,
maybe
and
the players are fighting the coach.
That's what I say. Maybe it's not EG as an org that is holding Irene's wrists, but maybe it's the players aren't listening yet.
Well, I mean, they're at this point to where they definitely should be, because they are looking so bad right now.
Yeah, it's not going well. I mean, what other choice do you have? And next week they have CLG and FlyQuest, so...
I mean...
Do you want to be CLG's first win? Do you? Because I don't think you do.
No, that would spell even more disaster in my book if they lose to CLG.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the reason they are 9th right now instead of tied for 8th is because they've already lost the head-to-head against Golden Guardians. Both these teams only have 1 win, but Golden Guardians' win is over Evil Geniuses. Evil Genius has a win over 100 Thieves. If they lose to CLG, that actually would make them 10th immediately, because CLG would be 1-4, as would Evil Geniuses, but they lose the head-to-head currently.
Sure.
This team, Immortal and Immortals were the 2 out of 4 that I thought had the biggest floor to ceiling possibility, and both of them are fucking laying on the floor rolling around like a dipshit.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. So, do you think it's just team cohesion needs to come together for them?
I don't know. We've kind of discussed at length all of the various possibilities,
yeah.
So it's got to be one of them.
You maybe could be all of them, and if so, that's a bad thing.
I like how I wanted to touch on Evil Geniuses for just a moment, and we went down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, I figured we would be able to. I mean, we're going to do that about different teams every week. That's going to come up. Obviously, teams that are doing the best and the worst will get a touch, but I think teams in the middle are the most interesting ones to talk about, even though Evil Geniuses isn't so much in the middle at 9th. It's good to talk about a team that's not quite last. And I think the one other team I want to talk about, a team that's not quite in first, we talked about Dig, I think, extensively last week, but the team that's still tied with them right now, FlyQuest.
FlyQuest pulled a reverse CLG, going from bottom of the pack to top of the pack.
Yeah, FlyQuest is really interesting right now because, I mean, they won that game against Dignitas, which I didn't see happening. I mean, we went into our Monday predictions, and all 3 of us, you, myself, Heather, we said, okay, the winners of this are easily Dignitas and TSM.
I was like, this is the easiest picks for a Monday,
Like,
and I was wrong.
You're like, let's get that O2 up in this shit and just call it a day. And no, FlyQuest had something to say about that. And sure enough, like, I don't know what to say other than they looked really good that game because they were given a pretty early lead by Dignitas. Dignitas made a mistake in mid, and I think it was mid the first blood, but yeah, it was just, it went from there. I'm sorry, no, it was top for first blood, yeah. Aatrox died for first. I'm sorry, Set.
The
there we go,
Jarvan
Set.
came in and just
Aatrox
poked Huni and he
it was
died.
the Aatrox Set lane, yeah, and Set died because Set had over push. Well, and it's actually it was beautiful actually from Santorin, and this is what you expect from Santorin. The one person to make All Stars who wasn't on the top 3 teams last split, by the way, or 2 splits ago, whatever the hell it was, where he comes up and he did one buff into a gank. He makes the like 215 gank with a buff in level 2, and it turns into a kill because Set's way overpushed and low because Set's so good at like surviving. His passive allows him to gain more health, like he regens more health the lower he is, and then he has that shield off of his W, I believe it is. So he's really good at dueling at those low levels, and so yeah, he was pushed up and just got wrecked for it. It was really, really smart play by Santorin. And then from there, like, FlyQuest just didn't do anything wrong. And Dignitas
I'm pretty sure my comments on that game is that FlyQuest was in the right spot at the right time every single time something happened.
Yeah.
Like, that was, for as painful as it was for me to watch Dignitas lose, FlyQuest did everything oh so right. And Dignitas just... They got in their own heads. Like, I mean, so right immediately after Huni got that first blood on him.
Yeah, got first blooded.
Yeah. Yes.
First blood.
he bled first, yes. He went to mid lane, popped his flash for no reason at all to try to turret dive.
Oh, yeah, he tried to dive that mid and it was really not good.
Yeah, I was just like, dude, like, this is Huni of last split. Like, this is the most Huni from last year that we have seen so far this split. Like, he tried to overcorrect after making arguably that necessarily wasn't, he was a little pushed in, but like, shit happens.
Yeah.
But then going immediately to mid lane.
He's like, let's make it worse.
Exactly. And I was just like, okay.
He wanted to get something back. It was so quintessential last year Huni. Whereas, like, he wanted to get something back so bad that he gave up more in the process.
Exactly, yeah. I watched that. I was so sad.
Did you fucking, like, rewatch it, like, 3 times and go, what the fuck are you doing?
No, I saw it once and that was enough. I was like, dude, no. Like, you're better than this. I mean, that was really painful. Like, I'm not going to say I'm a Dignitas fan yet, but I'm getting there.
Yeah.
But, no, Huni being Huni is... I'm not going to blame it all on Huni. Because everyone was out of position that entire game.
I mean, I would still say about Dignitas Johnson looking really good. But FlyQuest... So, Dig's only lost being to FlyQuest. FlyQuest only lost being to TL, both losing this week. They were 2-0 last week. I think we've got our top 4 right now, unless some team really hard turns it around, don't you think? Cloud9, TL, Dignitas, FlyQuest, they're all looking so good.
Every team that I want to win could do terrible from here on out. So
true, mostly because you want them to win.
Exactly.
Please don't buy stock in Cloud9.
It is forlorn. Every team that I follow does terrible. But no, I think Dignitas being 3-1 right now, they are sitting in a good place. If they continue to play well and just kind of fix the little things here and there, I think they're looking like a pretty solid team.
Yeah, I mean, both of these teams are good. FlyQuest and Dignitas are very good. I'm more curious about FlyQuest than Dig. I feel like Dig, now that we've seen Johnson play, it seems like Afromu will do fine because he's got such a good marksman, bot laner with him. And then mid lane's doing good with oh my gosh, I just blanked hard. You've got Huni in the top lane. You've got Grig in the mid lane.
He's jungle.
I'm sorry, jungle. God dang.
Froggen.
Can't talk. And then Froggen in the mid lane. And Froggen's been lighting it up. I mean, so many people are talking about this is the first time Froggen's had good people around him. And he's lighting up too. And then FlyQuest, though, I find them so much more interesting. Because you have this same roster as last year almost. Where you have Viper in the top. You've got Wild Turtle in the bot. Santorn in the jungle. The changes being you have Power of Evil in mid lane, and you have Ignar now in support instead of a string of not successes. I think Ole was the last one. And it seems to be those two changes, having Ignar and Power of Evil, have just turned this team around.
For now. Like, I hope that their streak continues because I like everyone on this team. Like, I love Turtle. I love his hair. I love how Asian he is.
And Canadian.
He's an Asian Canadian.
He's so Canadian.
A Canadian.
Canadian, yes.
I think that he's such a great player, but they hard 10th last split, right? Was it 10th or was it pretty damn close?
It might, yeah, they didn't do well. I think, yeah.
Like they are pulling like the exact opposite of what CLG is doing now. CLG went from third last split to this split. And now they're going the other way where FlyQuest was last and is now sitting pretty close to the top. But again, week 2 shenanigans. It will shake out eventually.
Yeah.
If they can continue to keep this up, like.
Well, and
great for them.
FlyQuest next week has Cloud9 and Evil Geniuses, so they need to go 1-1. If they go 2-0, that'd be an incredible. If they hand Cloud9 their first loss, that'd be an incredible week for them. Let's go ahead and do our quick next week preview sort of thing. What do we got for our matches on Saturday?
Saturday is looking like Evil Geniuses CLG for game 1. It's looking to be our possible Bubble Wrap Midget wrestling match.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to beat that one.
Followed by 100 Thieves and Team Liquid. Followed by TSM and Dignitas. And then ending Saturday is Cloud9 and FlyQuest, which we just spoke about.
Yeah, I mean, so let's do our quick predictions on that. Starting at the bottom, I think Cloud9 obviously would be the favorite for Cloud9 Fly.
Agree.
Even though FlyQuest, have only lost one game. But Cloud9 just looking stupid clean. Let's go back to the top then, though. Evil Geniuses CLG. I think that's probably the hardest one of the week to call right out the gate for me.
If Evil Geniuses loses this game, I have to kind of lose all of my faith in them. Like, I mean, CLG could come in, look real clean, and they could do some work. But if they play anything like they have these past 2 weeks, CLG's 100% lost. So...
I would actually even say both of these teams, Evil Geniuses and CLG, if they lose this game, they're done for the season, basically. Or a split. This split at that point...
I would imagine they're out of playoff contention at this point.
Yeah, exactly. So if if EG or CLG goes to a loss here on only their 5th game out of 18, at that point, are you just not playing with the roster and strategies to try and figure out something? Because I feel that way for both of these teams. Do you feel the same way?
Yes.
If CLG's 0-5, if EG's 1-4, you're just like, all right, let's fuck around and figure out what is broken here and see if we can fix it. Like, you're not trying to win anymore, you're trying to change.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that this has to be the eye-opener match for Evil Geniuses. They have to pick this win up. Like, I mean, if they lose the CLG, I'm writing them off. If CLG wins, I'm still writing them off too, but...
So CLG cannot be redeemed in this match, in your opinion?
Statistically, they're not out, but how they've played, it's not looking very great.
CLG is irredeemable to chase unless they pull off 2 wins this next week.
And it's that EG and Immortals. Seems unlikely.
It's possible.
Anything's possible. Dignitas pulling a win from Team Liquid when they're only missing a jungler, absurd to me. Yeah. Absurd. The jungler is an integral part of the team.
Especially right now.
But there's no way that Schernfire is so bad that they were able to lose the Dignitas because of solely the jungler.
I think the meta is also not great for Liquid right now. I mean, they like to hard carry through bot, and right now the meta is not, hey, hard carry through bot.
Yeah.
So, let's go on to game 2 then. 100 Thieves and Team Liquid. Both of these teams are 2-2 right now, and they both. So the wins for 100 Thieves, Golden Guardians and CLG. The losses EG and Cloud9. TL lost to Cloud9 as well, and Dignitas and win over TSM and FlyQuest.
So,
and once again, we do not know if Broxham will be back.
If Brox is here, definitely Team Liquid. If Brox is not here, I'm still probably leaning into Team Liquid. Like, 100 Thieves has looked pretty okay. Mm-hmm. We didn't actually touch on them today. Nope. They are in 4th place. They're looking okay.
They looked better this week in their 1-1 than they did last week in their 1-1, I felt like.
I think Meteos kind of chilled it out a little bit. Like, Meteos was a little aggressive in parts where he shouldn't have been aggressive week 1, and I think he mellowed out a little bit for week 2. It's not out of the realm of possible that 100 Thieves win this game, but I'm also going to probably pick Team Liquid to be safe.
Yeah, I think Team Liquid would be my favored team here, just because 100 Thieves, like you said, it mostly does just come down to exactly what you said. Meteos seems to have made some plays where it's like, what are you doing? You're better than that.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of team cohesion still necessary for 100 Thieves. Once that team gets it online, they could be a top 3. It's possible. Probably, honestly, actually, top 3 seems ambitious just because of how good Dignitas has looked. And you assume Team Liquid will get it together eventually. If Team Liquid doesn't get it together and become a top 3 team, that will be the most surprising collapse possible.
I'm not leaning into top 3 for Dignitas. For as much as I want Dignitas to win, I'm leaning into top 5.
So who do you... just let's quick hit on that then. You've got Cloud9 and TL, I would guess 1-2. Who do you have as your number 3 in that then? 3 or 4. Like, since you put Dignitas all the way out to 5, who do you think's a team that would slot into those 2 ahead of them? FlyQuest?
Possibly Immortals, and FlyQuest has to be one of those 3.
Okay, there you go. So you think FlyQuest would most likely beat out Dig?
FlyQuest is looking so good right now, unless they flounder this week, and I'm okay with eating my words on that.
I mean, FlyQuest has to face Cloud9, but they should definitely be evil geniuses, you would think.
Yes, I believe so.
All right. No, I can get behind that. FlyQuest is looking really good. In fact, I think Licorice said right before the season that, in his opinion, it was them, TL, and FlyQuest as top 3 teams based on pre-season scrims. So that says something when, the top laner for the team who's currently winning is just like, no, yeah, that team's legitimately good. When so many people on the outside did not think that. And we here at Loggers were one of those people.
I mean, honestly, the way I see things shaking out is Cloud9 could very well end up first the split, followed closely behind a Team Liquid that has a Broxa, and they're trying to make up for lost time.
Yeah.
Maybe, and then a FlyQuest TSM, and then I think Dignitas lands right around 5, unless they just blow things out of the water this split.
In my head, that top 2 is exactly how you described it. Cloud9 will have that gap that they've gotten themselves over the first 3-4 weeks, and TL's just struggling to catch up. Now, of course, when it comes to playoffs, it doesn't matter who's catching up. It's just who's good enough at that moment. So let's hit up that last match we haven't talked about then for Saturday, TSM Dignitas. TSM looked better this week for sure, but I still think I favor Dignitas at the moment.
Dignitas has so many players that I like. And
you love Huni.
And they have done so much good, and they have done so much bad.
Actually, you love Huni because you're an Echo Fox fan with Huni. You love Froggen because you're a Golden Guardians fan with Froggen. Yep. How do you feel about Grig?
I feel like Grig got shafted because of his hand.
I agree. Grig got shafted. Well, he got shafted because he was on TSM. You remember my rant when I was talking about let him play Gragas, stop giving him Sejuani.
Yeah.
And then down in their bot lane, Johnson and Aframu, who you are a adamant Aframu hater. And I'm not going to say I'm not, but...
I think Afro has made steps to make his image look better this split.
Not his image. I want to talk about him as a player.
Sorry,
how do you feel about him as a player?
That's what I mean. His image as a player, to me, he's
looked more skilled and better right now.
He's looked less like he's trying to run the show wrong.
Okay.
Like, I feel like he is probably not the one making the calls right now. I think he is the one being told, here's what you should be doing.
Yeah.
And I think other people have better knowledge than he does in making some of these calls. And so I think his skill, I'm not putting his skill into question here. I think he can be a good player. He has shown when he is not the one making the calls, he has played pretty well so far this split.
Yeah.
So if he continues to make good plays called out by somebody that's not himself, I think that he could have a real resurgence this year.
Yeah, I mean, so far so good for Aframu, gotta say. Having Johnson, who may very well be the next greatest North American bot laner, doesn't hurt.
Yeah, I think my hate was more for 100 Thieves, followed very closely by Aframu. But
the way the organization handled things, and obviously us as outsiders, our take on it was that it was Afro who was in some ways in control of that. Obviously led to
that's how it seemed,
yep.
At least from my end.
Yeah, no, same here. All right, so before we close out the show, though, Chase, any hot takes? And I do want to say my hot take last week was Cloud9 ends the split first, and looking pretty good so far.
Unless they drop the ball somewhere. I mean, again, week 2, it's so hard to try to make sweeping.
Yeah, no, that's why it's a hot
like
take,
that,
man. You have a hot take though after week 2, heading into week 3.
I didn't actually.
You don't? My hot take is that Dignitas. No, not Dignitas. That's not even a hot take. Everybody knows Dignitas is good now. You know what? Hot take is that EG or CLG is going to lose to EG and Immortals. They're going to be 0-6 and just fucking done with this split, basically. CLG done, dumpster.
That could happen. That's
Yeah.
very realistic.
Do you have a take, or are we calling it here?
I'm gonna call it here. I don't fucking have a take.
All right,
I like beer. That's a hot take.
There you go. All right, guys, thank you for joining us. Season 4, episode 3 of League of Loggers. And we'll be back next...
Goodbye from Season 4, Episode 3 of League of Loggers. Sorry. I fucked it up so many times earlier.
Yeah.
I needed a little redemption.
All right. We'll be back next week, though, following a bunch of more matches. If you have not got in your stock picks, please do that. And I'll be posting out. But until next time, cheers.
Cheers.